Well, this conversation has been awesome, and I haven't even taken a sip of coffee yet, and that's the whole title of this show, Coffee and a Conversation. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Coffee and Conversation DEI podcast. I am Marcus Rodriguez, the Director of Diversity, Equity, and Inclusion for Long Branch Public Schools, and I am so pleased to have with us today actor, producer, a woman of many slashes. I'll let her introduce herself in a little bit, but her name is Kim Berrios Lin.
92 and 93 were two of the worst years for real estate in the city, but there's been a little 94 bounce.
And what do we say if they ask how old we are?
I say however old the character Lilo is in the script, and then I wink.
And she is an actress that you can catch. Now, Kim, there's a bit of here's a debate, right? Is it actor or actress? You know, we're the diversity organization. We want to make sure we get it right. What's appropriate?
I think it's a personal choice. I usually call myself an actor, but sometimes I say actress. I think it's just a personal choice. I'm not offended either way. So,
awesome.
Plays Shirley, mother of Pretty Little Liar Mouse, played by Malia Piles, and she's the wife of Elodie, who is played by Leah Salonga in HBO Max's Pretty Little Liars Original Sin. Other recent credits include Better Nate Than Ever on Disney+, Pose on FX, New Amsterdam's NBC, Almost Family on Fox, Bull on CBS, and The Politician on Netflix. Ladies and gentlemen, the woman is everywhere.
For those of you that may not know, one of the reasons that this podcast it came about is because we want to offer an opportunity and a voice to students and to basically the community. It doesn't often get a voice in industry, and especially an industry like yours. So I was hoping that we might talk a little bit about that. Basically, I know that you work tirelessly as an advocate for youth through involvement in various organizations and groups, which includes your very own social justice theater organization called Colors of Community. Tell me about this passion of yours for youth advocacy and where it comes from.
sure. So I guess I'll start from the beginning. I would say specifically in relation to the arts, as a child, the arts were the only place where I knew how to communicate. It helped me get through a lot of, a lot of issues that in this day and age would have been more accepted and easier for my parents to digest, that therapy could have helped with. I feel like the children have so much to offer, but always need that sort of guidance. I had always wished, and more so as an adult, knowing what I needed, I had always wished that I had someone to look at who looked like me, who was maybe going through the same struggles that I was going through, and to sort of feel like I was not alone. And so a combination of how the arts have helped me to grow and to act as sort of like a catharsis to the emotional life growing up, as well as knowing how badly children need mentors and to see someone who looked like them either on TV or as, in their schools or, wherever it may be, to just sort of like give them a guiding hand. That's why, advocacy is so important for me, especially when we're speaking of our youth. The Colors of Community started, our first event was in 2015, and there was a lot going on. The first one was in reaction to, the police brutality and, the police force who protects us, but also at the time, and it's still going on now, did not make us feel, our brown communities feel as protected, and we felt like it was important to not only go out and protest and speak and ignite change, but also to bring everybody together. So we weren't saying it's us against law enforcement. No, by all that's not what we were saying. What we were saying was we have to figure out how to talk to each other, and we have to figure out how to come together, because these situations do not represent what is happening all over. And we also have to give respect to Trayvon Martin and Renisha McBride and Michael Brown, and say their names and use art as the catalyst to heal and to connect. And so that's where Colors of Community came from. And what we did was we asked playwrights to either write new pieces or short pieces, and we would have a reading. And then afterwards, we would bring various members of the communities together and just talk about what we saw, talk about what was going on, and really start to feel, to place our anger somewhere and to turn our anger into something productive. And it was the first one was a really beautiful healing space, and that's why we continued and we did a couple more. And the plan is to come back together, because there's always stuff happening. There's always reason to connect. So, the pandemic slowed us down a bit, but we plan on restarting soon.
That's awesome. And you touched on it a little bit. One of the shortcomings of the media and the representation of our heroes in most industries and sports and entertainment and the like is that we generally only see the end result of what is very much a long process of commitment, of sacrifices and hard work that created paths to success, right? And you earned a master's degree in acting and then hold a college degree in fashion. Is that right?
Yeah, I do. I do hold those things. I do hold those papers. Yeah, I do. It was a lot of work. I think another reason why I'm passionate about youth arts, for example, is that growing up, to be from we're first generation, and our parents worked hard to make a life for us. And so saying, oh, I want to be a dancer or I want to be an actor is almost like you're speaking a different language, right? It's like, no, you have to work hard and take care of your children. Look at what we've done to get you here. And so as a child, I grew up dancing. And that was everything I needed. And I eventually got into acting. But, when it came time to go to college, it was like, the parents were like, oh, although they were supportive of my dreams, et cetera, it was more like, okay, now what are you going to do for real? And then I got a degree in anthropology. And I was like, I graduated and I was like, what am I going to do with this? I am an artist. Like, what do I do? And so I took a really long winding path. I worked for a subprime mortgage company. And, then I went to fashion marketing. I left that job because I thought I need something creative. If it's not acting, I don't even know where to start with acting. Let me get to New York City and be in fashion. So I worked in fashion for a while. Every password to my computer in my fashion jobs was like actor 1, actor 2, because I knew I was an actor. I didn't have the training. I had a little experience as a child, but I didn't have the training. And one day I just said, I got to do it. It's now or never. I have to do it. And so I left my job in fashion and I went into an MFA program with your brother. We both did that. We both did that. He was on his way to law school. I was in my fashion career that was, I was slowly climbing the ladder.
And might I add that probably was the talk of the family. Like, oh my gosh, these two are just they're taking a complete 360 turn or 180 turn, and what are they doing, right?
What are they doing? Yeah.
So well, that's what that's what the older generation would say, right? And it took a lot of courage. I commend you for that, because it definitely took a lot of courage. And quite honestly, for my brother, who's the third of us, he's the third one in line. By the time he came around, my parents were a little bit tired. They're like, all right, you know what? You do what you got to do. They put my older brother through the ringer, and they, I was probably the only one that said, okay, school check, college check, job right out of college, check, and following that path and that line, right? But there was also always a piece of a want of that entertainment kind of, like, life, right? And so I'm so proud and so happy that the two of you took the jump, because it was definitely a scary thing for you to do at the time, and it took a lot. I mean, it took quite a bit. How old were you when you finally said, "Listen, um, this is what I want, and I'm going to do it"?
Okay, so let me work backwards. I think I was around 30. I think it was about 30.
Amazing.
Because yeah, I think it was 30. And that's not, that's I was well aware that that was a late start, especially considering the industry. And if you spend enough time listening to people, you'll talk yourself out of it. And I just had that voice that was like, not, it was just in my solar plexus. It was just like, go now, go now or never, now
Right.
or never. And then, you just have to, I understand the fears. I have my children as well. And if my daughter at my age, was like, forget it, I'm not in fashion anymore, and this is what I want to do, I would have been scared. And the reactions and responses were very, very normal. But the truth is that we come from a family of artists, and our
Right.
grandmother, mama, was an artist, and like we um we get to nurture that because of what our parents did for us. Like, had there been no stability in my life, well, then maybe I wouldn't be in the position to say, like, okay, I quit my job and now it's time to be an actor. um, so every single step paved the way to what we're able to do now, and here you are with your podcast. I mean, everyone's creative in our family, and so I feel very lucky. And there is, most definitely, there was bravery involved. And I'm not saying that as soon as I made that decision it was easy. I made the decision and it was hard. It was.
And I would think that anxiety plays anxiety plays a part in our daily lives, period. But especially in the life of an artist, when work isn't necessarily guaranteed, right? It's something you kind of learn to um, coexist with. In fact, you probably have better coping skills than the average bear with regards. And if not, tell me about that a little bit, and what that looks like for you, and what you now kind of instill for your kids, and what you would hope to pass on from the lessons you've learned in terms of social emotional wellness and such.
Absolutely. I'll start briefly on, growing up. I'm very open about mental health and normalizing mental health talk. I did deal with a lot of depression as a child. It's something I still struggle with as an adult. I did suffer from an eating disorder almost my whole life until I was 32. And so I would say that what really helped me in my career, in my life in general, was therapy. It's, our family, like, our family's from Puerto Rico and Taiwan, right? So therapy was like unheard of. It was more like, you keep it in the family, you keep it, it's secrets, and you keep it, and it's not even about keeping secrets. It's more about like that you can figure it out with your family, and you don't need to go out to the outside world. But the truth is that I needed therapy. And so where the arts were my therapy, as an adult, I needed to find something else. And so when I went to get my master's, is when I really started. I have a teacher, Michael Billingsley, who became a mentor, and he told me, you should start therapy. It's free here. It's free. So get started. And I will say, without having started therapy then and continued it until now, and I will continue for the rest of my life. I love it. It's like a yoga class for me. I don't think that I would be where I am today in my career.
I think it's fantastic. I think it's fantastic to hear you say that. I think it's important for our youth to hear you say that. Long Branch Public Schools has a school-based youth services program, and um, therapeutic services are available to students and to families. And it's such an important thing, that it's so important, in fact, that the school district really has pushed and put a lot of resources into ensuring, first and foremost, that um, our students and their families are in a good place, right? Because you can't learn if you don't if you don't start from a good place. And there's a lot of healing that's required, and a lot of conversation that's required, and a lot of professionals that we have um, garnered to make that a possibility for the Long Branch community. So it warms my heart to hear you normalize it, to say that this is something you need to do for you, and it's something that that's healthy.
Yeah. Thank you for saying that. That brought tears to my eyes because it's just so important for the students to feel supported, and just like I think about that growing, like what that might have looked like if I had that, right? And not that I regret anything. Every single part of my life is got me to where I am right now, but I just think it's so beautiful that your schools have that available, because there's nothing wrong with a little bit of therapy. I mean, there's nothing wrong. There's nothing wrong with, I mean, the world that we live in, when we're constantly inundated with what's happening around us, it's only natural that we react and we struggle in certain ways. So I'm really happy to hear that for what Long Branch is doing for your youth.
Absolutely. And you know what? I would be remiss if I didn't officially invite you to speak with them when it's convenient and when your schedule allows. I know that a select group of students from the Long Branch High School School of Social Justice, as well as students and staff members from the Drama and Fine Arts Department, are like, Marcus, just bring her over. Just tell her, ask her to come hang out with us for just a little bit. I said, I'll promise, I'll ask, and no pressure, no pressure, but you can let them know yourself if that's available. We'll certainly set that up. Is it fair to say that you've never stopped working on your skills, or that you never stopped working on your skill set as an artist, as a performer, as an activist? What does that look like for you?
And I will just say to your previous thing, the answer is yes. I would love to come visit.
Awesome.
But no, that is fair to say. It's every single step of the way. It feels different but the same, and I'll explain that if that sounds sort of like mystical. Starting with TV and film, the whole process of auditioning felt brand new, and it's all there's all learning. The best way to learn is to make mistakes, and in the beginning my mistakes would bring me down. I'd make a little mistake and I would just think about it all week, and that's no way to grow. So as I continued in aiming towards TV and film, I learned that the mistakes are what make me stronger, and working on those mistakes and practicing. Now everything is self tapes, and so I audition from my office at home. But when I'm not getting auditions, I just record auditions, and I look at myself, and I see what I'm doing, and I try new things, and I work with my friends, and we do little acting exercises, and I'm reading, and it's constant, and also it's watching TV and seeing what's on and seeing where you fit in, and so it's endless, and it's endless in a way that it's something that I need. Actually, as an artist, like I actually need that every day to be creative, in order to feel like myself. And so it is a lot of work, but I'm grateful to say that the work doesn't feel like work, but it is something that has to constantly be, adjusted and improved, I would say, as you get to every step, and then you're on set, and there's a whole new set of skills that you need to learn, and there's a whole new set of, like, for me, meditations that I need to do to make sure that I come with myself and the ego doesn't talk too much. So yeah, it's forever. It will never end, and I'm excited about that.
That's awesome. I mean, the landscape. Let's talk about the professional landscape for people of color in your industry. Um, it's been a difficult road. It's improving. I'm so happy to see. Take for example your latest project with Pretty Little Liars. That cast is so beautiful, so diverse, and the work that you put into it is just there's nothing. It's nothing short of amazing, and the representation first and foremost. You play one of two mothers to one of the main characters, right? And so without making it a focal point or a big deal, it's normalizing what is so common for American families today. And so I want to thank you and the writers and the producers and the program for doing that, because it's important. to let that segment of the population see themselves, as you put earlier. You want to see yourself in the TV shows, in the characters, and so you're actually doing that, and you're making an impact in that way, and that's pretty amazing. Um, if you had the opportunity to speak to your younger self in a sentence, um, looking back now, and given all the struggles and all the noise that we let ourselves listen to on the way up, right? Um, what do you think would be the one thing you'd want your younger self to hang on to that help you make it to this point?
I would tell my younger self, you know exactly what you're doing. There were so many instances where, for example, I could have, when I was going for undergrad, if I really had pushed to say I'm going for acting, my parents would have said, okay, yes, okay, because they always sort of did step back and trust me. So I think that, like, I would tell my younger self, you know what you're doing, keep on, and those feelings that you're feeling, those big, beautiful feelings that you're feeling those because you're an artist, and it's all very normal. And I would also tell myself that I'm perfect just the way that I am. I would say you were perfect just the way you are. Because I do feel like the struggle with an eating disorder wasted a lot of time unnecessarily. And yeah, I think that I would also tell my younger self, keep at it, because you're going to be working with Princess Jasmine. My wife, Leia Salonga, in Pretty Little Liars, is the singing voice of Princess Jasmine. She's iconic. She's a Broadway legend.
Oh, that's amazing.
She's incredible. So just keep on, because and I watched Little Mermaid, I couldn't even tell you, probably 100 times. So I would tell my younger self that just keep at it. You're going to meet her soon.
That's awesome.
So you touched on Pretty Little Liars, and how the cast is inclusive and diverse. And although the casting was intentional, I will say that what Pretty Little Liars does such a good job at is making it about the storyline and about the families and about the characters. It's not about whether they happen to be queer or trans, et cetera. And I think that's so beautiful. And I feel very grateful to be in a couple with a woman and a queer daughter, and it not be about us being queer. It's about our family and about our connections. And my daughter in the show dates a trans boy, and it's not about him being trans. It's about their beautiful relationship. And I also applaud Pretty Little Liars and their creators, Roberto and Lindsay, and all the writers, et cetera, everyone involved, for how they approach this, so that our youth can watch and say, oh, I see myself in there. And it's not about it's not about that specific detail. It's just about me seeing someone who I recognize living their life in a normal way, as normal as it can be in a slasher / horror TV show.
Right.
So thank you for mentioning that.
100%. And please continue to do what you're doing. Continue to shine a light for all little girls and boys that look like you, that have the same aspirations, and can now see, hey, maybe I can do that too, because that's exactly what you're doing every single day. And we appreciate you. And is there anything, switching gears a little bit, as you look at your life now, and you look at the beautiful kids that you get to hug and kiss and love every day, what's the one thing that you are hell bent on ensuring that your daughter knows, as far as life's wisdoms, if you will? I know that our parents fill us with as much as they can. What's the one takeaway that you have, that you definitely want your daughter to have? And when she thinks of mommy, what's the one voice that she wants, that you want her to hear?
It's a very similar one to what I would tell myself, but it would be trust yourself. Something that I think that our generation does, that I think, our parents weren't able to, just because they were doing the best that they could. But something that our generation does is, I know that my husband and we say we make mistakes because we're human, so we're all learning. And we do encourage her to keep learning, keep being curious. I mean, that's how we will evolve as humans. It's like these precious little minds of this younger generation, like they're what our futures will be. And if they just take what everybody else says to be correct, there's no room for evolution. And so I would just say, keep being curious, trust yourself, and don't always listen to the adults. If it's, we keep you safe, etc. But like, if you feel, if you have a new idea, if you feel differently, I always want to hear what she has to say. And often I'll be like, yeah, I think you're right and I'm wrong. Let's explore that. But I think it's really important to give them that confidence, because then they'll be encouraged to be the next astronaut, or to be the, whatever the job may be, a social worker, a teacher, whatever it may be. They'll have that confidence to be the best that they can, because they trust themselves.
One of your passions, Kim, is Applaud Your Kids. It was actually a local organization, and I'm going to let you speak all about it, because you're speaking wonderfulness into the universe. Tell us about it.
Oh yeah, absolutely. So there are these two sisters, Jody and Melissa Grinwald, and they formed this organization to honor their dad, who found out late in life that he was an operatic singer. He didn't have the funds growing up, the means growing up, to take singing lessons, and so they lost him. And on one of his last wishes, or one of his last regrets, was that he couldn't have started earlier, that he didn't start his lessons earlier. And so these two beautiful angel humans started this organization called Applaud Our Kids, that provides free arts education throughout New Jersey right now. And they are planning to expand to any child that financially qualifies. And that's not just, just one class, that they continue providing the means and the classes to, classes that are local to them, until they go off to college. And they're incredible. And I would encourage everyone to just take a look at them, support them if you're able, or if this is something that any child might need to apply. Applaud Our Kids is amazing.
Thank you for that. We're certainly going to check it out, and I would probably love to have a conversation with them. It sounds like that would be a great coffee and conversation. So I'm going to tell them that you sent me.
I will. I would love to connect you. Jody already knows who you are. She wants to talk to you. All right,
fantastic. That's good stuff.
Well, this conversation has been awesome, and I haven't even taken a sip of coffee yet, and that's the whole title of this show, Coffee and a Conversation. That's how good the conversation's been. You are part of so many amazing things outside of acting, using your skill, your voice. Colors of Community is just one. You're also part of Labyrinth Theater, Intensive Ensemble. You're a part of Rock the Bells, a sketch comedy writer, and you're a performer. There's so many layers to Kim Berrios Lin, and I hope that the fans listening take a note of that and understand that you don't have to be just one thing, right? Because you and I've had the pleasure of growing up with you and seeing you become this amazing human being that is so giving, and so you just never stop. You don't stop giving. That's just who you are. And I think it's important to understand that that's okay, right? But it's also important to stay centered and stay true to yourself, which is what you have always done to one degree or another, is being true to yourself, and the dignity that takes, the grit that takes, is pretty impressive. And so I think if there's any lesson to be learned from for the 6,000 students that are probably going to be chiming in, and then 30,000 community members of Long Branch to understand, is that at the end of the day, being true to yourself is what you've done. And whether you began late or not, here you are, and you're making an impact. So we want to thank you for that. We want to thank you for joining us on our very first podcast, Coffee and a Conversation. Ladies and gentlemen, the awesome, the one and only Kim Berrios Lin. I want to thank you for joining us. And we are going to hold you to that visit to Long Branch Public Schools. Thank you so much for having us today, for you coming on the show. We appreciate you.
I appreciate it.
And ladies and gentlemen, don't forget The Catcher on Pretty Little Liars Original Sin. It is right now the most streamed show on HBO Max, and you are missing out if you haven't checked it out yet. Have a great one, everybody. Until next time, my name is Marcus Rodriguez, Director of Diversity, Equity, and Inclusion for Long Branch Public Schools. And you heard it here. Stay true to yourself.